In the 20th century, some of the most powerful governments on Earth tried to do something radical. They tried to plan an entire economy. Not just a few industries, not just key sectors, but everything. What would be produced, how much people would earn, where resources would go, and who would get what. The idea was simple. If markets are chaotic, unfair, and inefficient, then surely a central authority, armed with data and expertise, could do better. After all, we plan cities, we plan armies, we plan space missions, so why not plan an economy? But a century later, almost every fully planned economy has collapsed, reformed, or quietly abandoned the experiment. So the question is not whether economic planning failed. The real question is, why did it fail so consistently across different cultures, countries, and political systems? The idea of economic planning didn't come from nowhere. It emerged during a period of extreme instability. In the early 1900s, industrial capitalism was producing incredible wealth, but also child labour, slums, financial crashes, and mass unemployment. Then came the Great Depression. Global trade collapsed. Banks failed. Millions lost their jobs overnight. To many people, it looked like the market system itself had failed. If markets could destroy entire societies, then maybe they shouldn't be trusted at all. This was the environment in which central planning became attractive. The most ambitious experiment began in 1917, after the Russian Revolution. The new Soviet government abolished private ownership of industry and replaced the market with a central planning agency. This agency, known as Gosplan, attempted to calculate the needs of an entire nation. It created multi-year plans that specified how much coal would be mined, how many tractors would be built, how much bread each city would receive. For the first time in history, an economy was treated like a giant engineering project. For decades, the Soviet Union appeared to be a success. Industrial output grew rapidly. The country defeated Nazi Germany. It became a nuclear superpower. But inside the system, distortions were accumulating. Factories were rewarded for hitting numerical targets, not for producing useful goods. Managers focused on what could be measured, not what people needed. A glass factory would produce extremely thick glass to meet weight quotas. A furniture factory would produce heavy, unusable desks because lighter designs reduced output statistics. On paper, production was rising. In real life, people queued for hours to buy soap. In the late 1950s, China launched one of the most extreme planning experiments in history, the Great Leap Forward. The government attempted to industrialize overnight. Villages were ordered to melt down household metal to produce steel. Farmers were forced into massive collectives. Local officials exaggerated production data to avoid punishment. The central government believed food output was rising, so it exported grain abroad. In reality, the countryside was starving. Between 20 and 40 million people died, not because of drought, but because planners were operating with completely false information. Even in smaller planned economies, the same patterns emerged. In East Germany, the government controlled rents, wages, and prices. Housing was cheap, but maintenance was neglected. Entire cities slowly decayed. By the time the Berlin Wall fell, many buildings were structurally unsafe. In the 21st century, Venezuela attempted a modern form of planning. The government fixed prices for food, medicine, and fuel. The goal was social justice, but producers couldn't cover costs, so they stopped producing. The result was not affordability, it was scarcity. These failures weren't caused by bad leaders alone. They were rooted in a fundamental problem: information complexity. An economy contains billions of decisions: what to buy, what to sell, where to work, what to invent. In markets, prices compress all this information into a simple signal. High price equals high demand or low supply. Low price equals low demand or high supply. In planned systems, this signal is replaced with bureaucracy. Forms, reports, committees, forecasts. But by the time data reaches planners, it is already outdated. The second problem is incentives. When success is measured by targets, people optimize for the target, not for reality. This creates fake productivity, fake growth, fake success. The third problem is innovation. In markets, new ideas are rewarded. In planned systems, new ideas disrupt the plan, so innovation becomes risky. Today, no major economy is fully planned. Even the most state-led systems rely heavily on markets. China has private billionaires. Vietnam has stock exchanges. Cuba allows private businesses. Planning still exists. But it is now limited to coordination, not control. Governments plan infrastructure, education, energy transitions, but they no longer attempt to decide what every factory should produce. The lesson of the last century is not that governments are useless. It is that no institution can replace the information system created by millions of independent decisions. Economies are not machines. They are living systems, and living systems cannot be engineered from the top down. They can only be guided. Economic planning promised a world without chaos. But in trying to eliminate uncertainty, it eliminated the one thing every economy needs to survive: real information.